I'm sure anybody that is a fan of Fairy Tail or just a fan of badass bitches in general was kind of hyped when Mirajane had that rape face. You take my sister? Yeah, that ain't happening. So this week's chapter actually started off pretty interesting. Very vague. I definitely would say one thing I felt as though it's very vague and it's kind of Hiromasuma leaving open a lot to interpretation as to what the hell exactly Zeref is talking about. We got a little bit of hints like, okay, he's saying about End and how that's the strongest demon pretty much that he created and who's gonna meet me. Is it gonna be you or End? And I was just thinking to myself like, at first, what are you talking about, bro? Now, a lot of people, this is a theory that I've been seeing floating around that END stands for something like evil Natsu Dragneel or end of Natsu Dragneel, and a lot of the things that Zeref is saying, you could kind of interpret it as maybe he means that this is like an evil version of Natsu that he created, and that's kind of what he's talking about when he's saying, you know, this choice you're going to have to make, life or death, who's going to meet me, will it be you or END? Maybe it's within Natsu himself, something that's going to awaken him and he's going to have to fight it, and he'll possibly take either life or death situation where he's going to have to choose or something along the lines of that. Definitely a lot of interpretation you can kind of go with this one. Is like, is he talking about a different person in and of itself? Is it just a random demon that he created that is like super strong? Is it within Natsu? Is it a clone of Natsu? There's so many things you could go with this END person that Zeref spoke of in the beginning of this chapter. Very good and interesting stuff for the most part. Felt it could have been a little bit more explanatory instead of just kind of like throwing out a lot of vague shit, but overall still was interesting, and it kind of makes you think like, what is he talking about and what is he? Because as you can tell, he pretty much just like teleported there and he like froze time, and it's almost as if he doesn't even exist at this point. Maybe back in Terojima he existed, but at this point it's almost as if he's somewhat similar to what Mavis was, and maybe this will kind of tie into exactly what Mavis is at this point when you get to see her. Maybe it's a little bit different with Zeref. Maybe he freezes time when you see him at this point because he's probably like a spirit, I'm guessing. It could be what Zeref meant when he said who's gonna meet me, you or End, who's gonna meet me in the afterlife. Maybe he's already dead and this is his spirit form similar to Mavis. There's so many questions that you can go with, so I like that it's set up, but at the same time I would have liked a little bit more than the ultimate vagueness that we got with this one. Although for him being a spirit, it was interesting when Natsu slashed that sword against him, it pretty much melted, so like it really makes you wonder, what is Zeref at this point? We know that that's a part of his ability. We've seen it before when he was touching the flowers, everything was dying around him, but if he just like froze time and teleported there and he was like, oh, I gotta stop these random meetings because this isn't fair to Tartarus. So like he has to be something more than what Mavis is, because I don't think Mavis can necessarily touch you because she's just like a spirit. So it's definitely something a bit different, and I wouldn't be surprised that if him and Mavis had some sort of magic placed on them where they could still be around to this very day via spirits. Maybe he's a little bit more in tune because again, look what happened to the sword. But there's definitely something of a connection between him and Mavis and how she's like invisible to other people, and maybe he's only visible to people that he wants to be visible to at this point. But then it also conflicts with, you know, the human version we saw of Zeref and Tenrojima. So a lot of questions and a lot of mystery with the beginning of this chapter. And seriously, Kyouka, like you didn't get owned enough in the last week's chapter. I was just thinking to myself like, Hiro, why are you bringing Kyouka back? I like to a certain degree that Kyouka seems unfazed in this chapter, even though it's almost as if the damage is not even being like put into effect at this point, which I don't like that part. Like you see Kyouka in this chapter and she looks completely unfazed with all the battle damage that Erza gave her last week. Like Erza whipped the living shit out of her and she looks completely fine. And I'm like, so Erza gets tortured, she looks completely fine. Kyouka gets the living shit whipped out of her by Erza last chapter, she looks completely fine. Like, what's up with that, bro? Add some damage to them, please. Show some fatigue. I guess I'm happy at the fact that Kyouka isn't completely defeated and she's coming back for more. So in that aspect, it's like, okay, cool. She's not as crusty as I, you know, figured last week. I mean, at the end of the day, I thought it was a possibility anyway that the fight could keep going. But regardless of what, last week she got completely owned. And I'm hoping that when we do see a little bit more of a continuation of their fight, maybe it shows a reason why, like, oh, I let you beat me because I don't give a fuck. It's like, you didn't hurt me or something. That'd be kind of interesting. But the epic moment of the chapter by far was Mirajane when she had that rape face talking to Sayla. Sayla's like, oh, I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to get your sister. And Mira's like, my sister, you ain't getting shit. And I was just like, yes, that's the stuff from Fairy Tail that I do like. That's that hype shit. That's that good setup for an interesting fight. And I just want to see Mira, like, this is one of those times, you know how where Fairy Tail is kind of like, oh, they always overpowering the villains, and sometimes it gets really fucking annoying. This is one of those times where I wouldn't mind just Mira going full out, blowing Sayla out the fucking water. Like, let's see some of that demon spirit put to good use. Rape Sayla, literally or figuratively. I kid. So a good setup there for that particular fight, and then we also have another setup. So for the most part, this chapter was some interesting information, a little bit of progression with everyone, that they're kind of going to the other side now, but it barely moved from that particular part. Some interesting information, and then a lot of setups towards the end. Again, the setup with the Sayla and Mira fight, as well as the setup with round 2 with Erza and Kyouka, and then the very end, that pretty much 41 minutes remains until Face is going to be activated completely. So they have to, you know, get in gear, and it's set up for pretty much Keith, one of the Tartarus members, which, if we've seen from Tartarus thus far, and what we learned from them, is that they're not combat heavy. So it's now set up for Lucy and Wendy versus Keith. And I'm hoping that we get some, like, good shit from this, because, like, at the end of the day, I want to see Lucy win one. Can we stop having, like, she is capable for the most part of doing shit. It's just that Hiro always writes her as a fucking ditz, but at the end of the day, Uranometria, can we get some of that while maybe Wendy distracts him using her Skyroar or some shit, and then she does Uranometria, bomb, get the fuck out of here, let's go finish Face? That would be some decent writing, I'm just saying. So overall with this chapter, some good setups. I would have liked a little bit more of explanation instead of it just being completely vague with the Zeref shit, but I guess that's leaving open to, like, later events to add and subtract, like, whatever Hiro wants to pretty much foreshadow from that event for later events. So it's interesting stuff nonetheless in the beginning. Didn't really care for Kyouka getting back up with no damage whatsoever. I like that she got back up, and that means that she wasn't completely annihilated by Erza, but it would have looked nice to have some battle damage on her. Same thing with Erza. Like, why aren't people, like, being fatigued by all the damage they keep taking? Mirajane took the chapter by far, the setup for the fight with her and Sayla. I hope it's not even a fight. I just want to see Mirajane rip her piece by piece and show how beast Mirajane truly is. And Lucy and Wendy. I mean, at the end of the day, if the track record continues, it's going to most likely be that they can't really do much, and somebody's going to have to come in and bail them out, which is unfortunate because Lucy is capable. Uranometria, she has some pretty powerful keys as well. Wendy, she's pretty capable as well, but with Hiro Mashima, we just don't, we probably won't see them go all in. It's unfortunate, but we just got to wait and see. So overall, this was a good setup chapter. I'm going to give this one 7 out of 10, which seems to be the case with manga this week. Everything was just, like, good or set up, so hey, why not? You know, I'll take it. It's better than last week's Kyouka's ass whipping. That's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up if you can't wait to see Mirajane rape this lesbo bitch. It's like, it's gonna be chaotic, and I'm gonna love it. ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.